everybody, welcome to the live stream. I hope you are doing well wherever you are. Let me know where you're coming from. We have people like Masayu coming in the chat, who's one of my amazing members. We have Syrah and Anthony Lopez. Got people coming in from all over. So tell me where you're coming from. Throw me an emoji. What's your favorite emoji on this fantastic Friday? We are going to be doing some portfolio reviews and some Q&A time, and maybe sharing a couple of tools that I like to use and some of my opinions and thoughts on design in general. So tell me where you're coming from. Also, if you want to get your portfolio or your work reviewed, all you have to do is you have to go over to my Instagram and follow me there, and then send me a DM, and then I will try to feature your work on the stream here right now. So for instance, Gator the creator's already throwing me some stuff, a Behance link there, so I'm going to bring that up. I'm excited. That's our good buddy Syrah, who's already throwing me some work to look at. So I'm really excited about that. So you can see Syrah's first up in line to get the work done. So hey, I want to share something really funny before we got too far along here. So let's head over to my desktop. I'm on Instagram, and I just found this hilarious post by Logo Shift. Graphic designer versus client. Let's just react to this really quickly, shall we? Here we go. Designer and client. We create stuff, they be erasing our stuff. Super true. Colors, good palettes for us. Just the most bold, obnoxious colors for them. Typefaces, ones that make sense for us, and fancy ones like Comic Sans and Papyrus for them. Designer with space. Yeah, white space is important, we think. They don't think it is. Yeah, we like creative programs, and they like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. Let me see. Yeah, sometimes we take our own images and they just Google theirs and steal them. So that's the thing. Let me see. Yep, designer, client. Animation thing was a little nah, but this one's super good. What do we care about? Dribbble. Yeah, what do they care about? Revenue. Ooh, the stretching of the text. Yeah, it's not good. Photoshop, don't even know. It's just magic for them. But for us, it's just thousands and thousands of layers. Yep, that's super good. Like that post a lot. I just want to throw that out there. It was a good one. Hey, let's, before we take a look at Syrah, I want to make another quick announcement. Hey, if you want to learn UI and UX design, I'm hosting a Dribbble workshop next Friday. That's 1 week from today, March 26th. You can learn with me at Dribbble. Go to dribbble.com/learn. You can sign up there. I'm doing 2 back-to-back workshops. Each workshop is 3 hours long. In the first one, we're going to do UI design, like for mobile applications, all the basics, everything you need to know inside of Figma. And then the second one is going to be actually focused on delivering those projects, modern delivery workflows. So I'm really, really excited about it. I'm also really, really excited about my members like Masayu there and the rest of all of my homies. So if you want to become a member, all you have to do is hit that little join button, become a member, support the channel, be awesome. That'd be amazing. And then you get that cool green text and special little thumbs up emoji icon in the chat right there. All right, let's jump over to my desktop and let's start reviewing some work. Hey, make sure if you to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so other people can see it. This is Syrah Kumar, UI UX designer, Gator the creator from New Delhi, India, and we are going to be taking a look at a little bit of his work right now. Let's see. This one looks very holiday. Wonder Home, Winter Wonderland at home. Okay, it's an app redesign. Let's see this UI design for the let's look at this one. Let's look at the Christmas one. It's not Christmas right now, but maybe this will bring me reminiscent feels of the Christmas season. Okay, so we got people in the chat like Monique coming from New Zealand. We have people from Uganda and from India. And Jordan asks, is the workshop available if we can't attend the presentation due to time issues? Yes, I think if you purchase the workshop, you get replay of the workshop for up to, I think, 7 days, which is totally a thing you can do. But don't miss it if you can help it. Take the day off or something. Don't miss it, because you actually get to interact with me. I'm going to be pulling people up on the digital stage with me, looking at their work, answering their questions, similar to what we do here, but even more interactive. There's going to be challenges and games and all sorts of fun stuff. So join me there. Okay. Wonderland at home, Winter Wonderland. I like the big kind of like presentation of the work up top. It's a little bit linear for me, and so the work actually, like, if you really look at it, I'm gonna zoom in here. The work's actually really cool. It's just the layout of it is just kind of left to right, top to bottom. I would take this whole thing and I would literally just whoop, I would just give it a little 45-degree angle. Oh, that would look really cool. So you're creating this kind of like gallery wall, but it has some dynamic movement and motion to it. This is good. It's great. It could be better, right? Okay. I feel like I was quoting that line from the new Wonder Woman movie. It's great, but it could be better. So Winter Wonderland. Hey, side note, I just watched the Justice League. This is the Snyder cut last night. It was pretty good. Okay, Winter Wonderland, Hyde Park, Winter Wonderland. Okay, so here's the problem. Okay, really cool. So the whole thing, this case study is branded. This is what I recommend for everyone to do, to brand your case studies. So the whole thing feels really, really good. Now that, again, like it's all branded, could you do something a little bit more dynamic with the layout? I don't know, maybe. I'm not saying yes or no, I'm saying could you? That's a question to ask. Here's some questions that you asked for the project, and you did a little bit of analysis work, ideation, selection. Good, I love it. It's a good mixture of visual and written, right? It's not too much. And it stays with this branding, this Winter Wonderland branding the whole time. So it's good. Oh, is that it? Is that where it ends? Okay, that's where it ends. All right, here's my feedback on it. I think it's really, really good. I think that you are doing exactly what you should do, which is after you're done with the actual design work itself, then you want to design the case study. You can't stop there. You got to design the presentation of the work itself. Here's the only thing is I see the work up here, and then I see images and case study stuff, but I don't see any more images. Oh, maybe it was having trouble loading. Oh, okay, here it is. Sorry, we're having loading issues. That's my fault. Here we go. Let's keep going. So we have some video. I won't watch those right now. Okay, now we're getting to the work. If there was any way I could get those up like a little bit sooner, right? TLDR, too long, don't read. That would have been good. But the presentation of this stuff is all great. This looks great. I love the epilogue. Thanks for scrolling. Hey, we're going to appreciate that because that is amazing work. Yeah, I would have loved, there were so many more great images up here that I didn't see down here. Well, maybe I did see all of them. Okay. I would love to have seen it up top a little bit more. The work itself looks really clean. If I was going to be really nitpicky, I don't necessarily love the hollowed out pause button. Maybe make these like, you know, that's like maybe a bad UX right there is we want to give prominence to controls you want to touch. So I would have filled those. That's really nitpicky though. Holy cow, that's really nitpicky. Cards are clean. Careful on those shadows. Shadows could be a little bit heavy. You might want to lighten those up. Search being down at the bottom is really interesting. I would love to know more about this project and why search is at the bottom. Okay. Video chat. Cool. A nice login screen. Okay. Everything looks really clean. Looks really cool. Let's give big like claps to Syrah for crushing the game at this piece of work. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I tell you what, before we get to another piece of work, why don't we do a little question and answer time with Jesse? All right, let's jump over to our main screen. I'm gonna take a sip of my Legend Spicy Nootropic Ginger Performance Drink. Makes my brain work, makes me think, and it tastes really, really good. If you have questions, it doesn't just have to be, we had one question so far about the workshop that I'm hosting on Dribbble. If you have other questions about career or design or software or anything, let me know. I've been doing a little bit of consulting for some people or mentoring for some people lately. The question that's been coming up a lot is, how do you have confidence when you go in and you speak to clients, right? So I had a guy I was mentoring, and he was walking into local businesses like coffee shops and whatever. He's walking in and he was saying, "Hi, my name's so-and-so, and I make websites, and I'd like to make a website for you." And where it really started to kind of like fall short was he just immediately was going, "Here's how much I charge." That was his value proposition, was here's the price, here's the cost. And so what I told him, and it's the same thing I would tell anybody, is careful of making all the value you bring to the table your cost, or how cheap you can be, or how you can undercut somebody else. That's not necessarily the best value to bring. And so what I encouraged him, and I would encourage everybody, is to make sure that you bring value-based kind of like conversations to any client conversation. You could walk into a coffee shop this morning. You could walk into a local business, do 5 minutes of research and find if they have a website or not. If it stinks, then perfect. Walk in and say, "Hi, I'd like to talk to the owner or the manager. I'm so-and-so, and I make websites, and I saw that your website, you either don't have a website or that there's some things on your website that are lacking, and I feel like if I could fix a few of those things, I could increase some of your traffic and therefore your revenue today. Would you be interested in increasing your traffic and revenue this quarter or this year?" Wow, that is like a different thing. Like, instead of saying, "Hi, I'd really love it if you paid me $500 to make a website for you. What you're saying is, hey, I love your business, and I think I'm a problem solver. I can help you make more money in your business. Do you want that? How much is that worth, right? That's a better conversation. It's a better way to have those conversations. So, okay, so that's just a thought. Let's see. Fahim says, question, I'm thinking I am not improving with time, and every day I think I'm doing, that you're not doing good work, self-rejecting myself. Help me to improve as a designer. Oh, man. Oh, Fahim, this is what we call imposter syndrome. Back in the day, it would just be called low self-esteem. But now we've got a clever word for it, especially in the creative industry. We call it imposter syndrome. I would say be careful of imposter syndrome. Be careful of low self-esteem. Why do you think that the things that you're doing are not good enough? Why do you feel like you're not up to snuff? Here's a few ways that you can defeat imposter syndrome today. Number one, you can verbally call them out. This is what psychologists would call stop thinking. Is right? When you feel like really self-conscious, when you feel low self-esteem, when you feel imposter syndrome, just say it out loud to yourself. Say, stop thinking like that. I'm not going to think like that today. And get yourself out of that train of thought. It actually works. So first off, you have to be the one that tells yourself to stop thinking like that. Number two, you have to do the work, right? Put in the time. Get to that 10,000 hours of mastery. Know that it's a process. It's normal for everybody to feel this way. It's okay. You're not weird. You're not strange. You're like the rest of us. Every day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God. I'm thinking, I'm hosting this Dribbble workshop next week. Am I qualified to do this? I feel horrible. I feel like an imposter, right? But I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do it. And here's the third thing that you really need to know. One of the biggest ways to combat imposter syndrome is to get your work out there and start getting critique and feedback, because maybe you do need to learn and grow in a certain area. The only way you're going to learn, grow, and improve is by getting your work out there and getting critique and feedback on your work. Do work for clients. Let them tear it apart. It's going to hurt. It's going to stink. You do work. Put it on Dribbble. Get feedback from people. Give me your link in the DMs here on Instagram. Let me put it on the live stream so we can critique and give feedback. It's the only way you're going to learn, because we have lenses that we look at our work through and we think I think this is good. But if somebody just goes, hey, maybe you could have thought about that. Maybe you could have thought about that. It's all good. It's for your benefit, for all of our benefit. So those are the three things I would say. Stop thinking that way. Actually tell yourself to stop thinking that way. Number two, you got to show up and put in the work and realize it's part of the process. And number three, start submitting your work to get feedback and critique. That will defeat imposter syndrome. Do all three of those things every single day. I think you're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, here we go. How can we get over design block or lack of inspiration when you have a project in front of you that you need to work, but you can't get creative? Whoa, that's a great question. Anthony Lopez asked this question. I run out of inspiration all the time. I run out of inspiration, or I have like design block or creative block. Here's the first thing I do. Like physiologically, I get up and I move around. I go outside, I walk around, I do stuff just to get the blood pumping. Okay, so that's one thing that I do. Number two, I start looking at things that I wouldn't normally look at. Okay, so if you're a web designer or UI designer, you need to start looking at some print design materials. You need to look at architecture. You need to look at magazine layout. I love surfing magazines, National Geographic. Look at things that you don't normally look to. Go to Behance and get out of the UI UX section. Jump over to the packaging design section, the logo design section. Look at other things, right, to let it inspire you and go, ooh, that's interesting. Can I bring any of that into the work that I tend to think about? Here's another thing you could do, and this is gonna be, whoa, it's gonna be controversial. You can follow the kind of the idea of a book written by a guy named Austin Kleon called Steal Like an Artist. Here's a way you can steal like an artist that's stealing a little bit more like a thief and an artist at the same time. Go to Google, right? Find an image that you like. Okay, select that image in Google Images and you'll get a whole list of other images that are similar to that image. Maybe you clicked on a dark interface web design or something, right? You click on that, see similar images, you're gonna get a bunch of other dark interface stuff. Then take all of those, save all of them, and then pull a little something from 10 of them. Okay, now you're mixing and matching from 10 different things to create one new thing. You're not stealing one entire design. You're taking little bits that you like from something that's similar to what you're working on and kind of you're giving yourself ammunition. So that's a way you can kind of fight off kind of creative block as well. I think another thing is there's probably some good resources online. I like to cruise online resources, but really you got to get up, shake it out, and find ways to do things differently, look at things differently. That's my kind of answered last question. We'll jump back into some work. We'll answer some more questions later. But hi, Jesse, I have a question. I have a problem with drop shadow, which leads to wrong behavior or perception during a usability test. What's the ideal shadow for the task completion? Okay, that's the way you worded that's a little bit tricky, but let me try to answer this the best that I possibly can. What purpose do drop shadows serve? Okay, if your answer is they make things look better, it's the wrong answer in my opinion. Okay, what's the right answer? What's the purpose of drop shadows? Why should we use them? Okay, we should use drop shadows to bring clarity to things, right? To bring separation and contrast to things so that we can focus on them. So here's the thing. A lot of times we think, oh, I need to see this thing better, or I want to add some kind of like some focus onto this element or item. I'm going to add some drop shadow. You might have skipped the right solution. It might be you need a neutral background, right? You need to change the contrast that you have going on in other ways. Maybe the typography is wrong, the shape is wrong. There needs to be a better background color behind your card or whatever element it is you're working on. Maybe that's the better solution. Maybe you just need a simple thin little stroke around whatever element it is. Maybe that's the case. Maybe not. Maybe you want to add some dimensionality, some fun, some interest. That's fine too. But we don't use drop shadows just for the sake of visuals. We use them for the sake of clarity and contrast. After that, my next piece of advice would be drop shadows should be very chill, very light, right? I don't usually let drop shadows on UI elements go over 10%. 10% is like the max, right? If you're going over 10%, you got a problem. You got to do something else. Fix something else, right? So I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, I'm so sorry. We'll come back for some more questions when we do our next question and answer time with me, Jesse. All right, let's jump back over to some more pieces of work. We have this one by Steven Slobodiansky. Oh, this is a cool one. Let's take a look. This is graphic designer, Moscow, Russia, Federation. Really, really cool work. See, here's some, let's click on this. See, I'm not making this stuff up. That was some cool 45-degree angle stuff that really enticed me. This is a really like beautiful kind of above the fold image here that lets me know, man, the color is off the charts with this. Love the typography. Love everything that's going on here. Ooh, I definitely like this. Ooh, you know, I actually... You want to hear something funny? I was just doing like a concept design for like a music site, and this is a noun project icon. I'm not trying to call this person out. I'm just saying, I know that it is, right? I've seen enough icons. But here, look, there's some of that sleek 45-degree. It's not even flat. It's got like some actual like mock-up dimensionality to it. Love it. Super interesting, super beautiful. The web page, boom, look at this. Love the shapes. I gotta zoom in on all this because it's so nice. Let's get down there. Back to love the contrast of this like purpley dark color. The reds are beautiful. The whites behind it, super branded. Pow! Everything pops. There's texture. Not the biggest fan of this search box right here. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. Also interesting. Okay, here, you know what's so funny is like we all have things in our minds, the way things should work and the way they shouldn't work. And when they work in my mind, I'm like, why is the logo not top left? Because it doesn't always need to be top left, Jesse. That's why. Get over yourself, bro. It doesn't always have to be top left. So I don't know but that's what came into my mind first, didn't it? Okay, but I do love all of this action. You know what's interesting is like this website is not following the grid, so to speak, right? Like we see elements like flying way out over here. I guess they're on the grid here on the, yeah, no, maybe they are on the grid. No, look, they're off the grid a little bit. So, you know, they're like off the grid a little bit, but it's okay. That's fine. I don't mind it so much because this website has that abstract feeling. It has a little bit more like creative use of color, typography, you know, back. So the whole thing kind of fits. I would have loved to have seen it on the grid just a little bit more, but I do love the presentation of this piece of work. I think it's great. I love the gritty kind of texture, and the color combo is just like out of this world. Oh my gosh, I love that color combo. So it looks like concept work, but really, really, really nice. I like it. I dig it a whole lot. Hey, one more time, I did want to mention my Dribbble workshop while I'm doing this so I can check my Instagram DMs and not expose who's on my DMs. But hey, make sure you sign up for my workshop. It'll be a lot of fun. Hey, here we go. Jumping over to my screen for our next submission. And this is Inya Nakuvio. Man, I murdered that last name. Please, I'm so sorry. I'm not good at pronunciation. But here we go. Here we go. What do we got? Definitely mobile UI and visual design really has a very clean aesthetic, right? Definitely a lot of light, white, bright, kind of clean stuff. Looks really, really nice. I'm gonna click on, let's click on this first one right here. Let's see what's going on here. Exploring movies. All right, so we got some horizontal swipage. Let's just zoom in on this piece, right? Horizontal swiping of these cards. Love the cards layout. You're a little bit cramped in here. So this tells me that we have to think about the scalability even of your own design, right? We have to think about the scalability so that if it's really long or really short, this all makes sense. So we could have done that by expanding this little section out, right? Like bring this, making this section wider right here. That would have helped it. Then we would have more space here, and then we could have brought down the size of our little rating mark. You also could have taken the rating mark and dropped it outside, or dropped this little outside box thing that it's on. You also could have moved it up onto the movie, onto the image itself. There's lots of solutions to not get that cramped, jammed up kind of thing that's going on there. But I do love the consistency that's going on here, right? This light neutral gray for bottom navigation, for cards, for elements. It's reused, it's repurposed. I can't tell if this is a mess up or it's supposed to be, but I'm gonna be really honest. I hate the neutral here. I'd rather see typography on this nice white background, black on white like this. The contrast here becomes really poor. It's not as legible, so that's a thing. But call to action is pretty clear, like that down there. I like it. It's really, really nice. Cute little use of emoji. These icons are interesting. I don't love them. They look like an accident, right? I get where you're going with this. It's that broken icon style that has like a little kind of gap or dash in it. I saw another one up here, but it looks broken, right? It's so, I think you could make or find better ones. That's being really nitpicky, but hey, that's why you asked me to review the work, right? Okay, so let's look at another one. I tell you what though, I'm confused. Oh, okay, here we go, because we're on Dribbble, so we want to view one more. No, this is really, really similar to what we just looked at. Let's look at something slightly different. Let's look at this one. I mean, I think you know where you really excel? I think you really excel at these interfaces that have, you know, like products, that's swipeable, kind of like horizontal swiping areas. People get really tripped up on creating different sized like containing elements or areas that have their own type of content in it. Like for instance, top brands, right? You'd swipe through like these brands here. Here's a new section. I should have just said the word section. Here's a new section that has this type of content in it. Here's another section. People get really tripped out on this iTunes App Store kind of different section sizes, and you really shouldn't. It's about consistency between the content itself and the titles above. Content itself and titles above, and then sections just being spaced equidistant from each other. That's it. That's all. That's like literally the secret to creating variable size section pages or screens. So keep that in mind, but I think you do that really, really well. This is a really nice flip-flop from the dark, or excuse me, the light over here to the dark interface. This pagination is maybe a little too large. I would have preferred to see either a hint of the second object that we could see or arrows to touch so I know it's swipeable. Pagination on mobile like this is never a great solution, in my opinion. That totally could be my opinion. I'll tell you what's not an opinion. I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Wow, that was a big sneeze. Here we go. Let's keep moving on past that sneeze. No, I like this work. It's beautiful. Hey, everybody, how do I, here in Dribbble, I'm just gonna give a little bit of likeage right there. That was beautiful work. Love it, love it, love it. Also, I didn't give any sort of likes to Stepan or Stefan. How do I, yep, let's get out of there. Boop, 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 boop. I want to appreciate this work. Appreciate it all because I appreciate you guys. Let's do another question and answer time with Jesse. All right, Jordan Alexander asked the question, in my current job, I wear a ton of creative hats. And when it comes to building your portfolio, how do you highlight those creative hats while crafting the portfolio for a specific job that you're applying for? Man, that's a great question. I'm gonna think about it while I drink my legend drink real quick. So you are a person of many talents, a jack of all trades, so to speak, and you want to apply maybe for new jobs, which is cool, totally awesome. And because you have to do something, maybe you work at a startup, something, I did that as well. You never know what you're going to do when you come in for the day. Like, you'll be doing web design, could be doing motion stuff, could be doing video stuff. Who knows, right? How do you highlight it all? I think when you're building a portfolio, especially if you're building them Portfolio should, okay, let me start this whole thing out. Portfolio should have a purpose, okay? What is your portfolio for? For you, it's getting your next job, getting a better job, right? Like getting to the next place that you're really going to enjoy. So with that being said, you have to tailor your portfolio around what type of job you're applying for. So if you're looking for a UI design job, you know, at a mid to large size company, you're going to have to kind of like pivot your portfolio to be exactly what they're looking for. What they're looking for is not just images of work. They're probably looking for a little bit of process, not overboard on process. If you want to be a freelancer, case studies that have tons and tons and tons about your process, it's probably a bad thing. You want to really talk about the increase of revenue for your clients or traction or leads or whatever it is like that. So you have to kind of position yourself for what you're kind of looking for. Number two, the type of work that you want to do. All of this information is in my free PDF ebook called Make Your Portfolio Count. You should download it. I think there's a link in the description of this video. Download it for free. It's a freebie. Have it. It'll talk about all this stuff. But you should make sure that the work that you are presenting is the type of work that you want to do. So don't put a bunch of, I know maybe you did a bunch of different stuff. Like maybe you did web design, maybe you did graphic design, maybe you did, you know, some video. But if you don't want to do video, don't include it unless it's directly related to the project and it's an aside. It's a side thought. Okay, that's okay too. But if I was a hiring manager looking for a UI designer, hypothetically speaking, I want to see a portfolio full of UI design work. I don't want to see a mixed bag because there's plenty of other applicants probably that have tons and tons of UI design work examples. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for. So I hate to say it, but you're going to have to kind of try to consolidate the work you've done for the company you're currently at with maybe some concept work or some free work that you do for friends, family, or free clients or something. You're going to have to do that. Okay. So you're going to have to hustle a little bit and make it happen because it has to be really succinct. Let's answer another question. How to convince clients about the design that we presented them. It's supposed to, it needs more work or changes according to them. Okay. So how do you present work? You're getting a little bit of kickback from the client. They're saying, hey, we need tweaks, changes. Okay. So that's a big question. First thing I would say is there should have been some sort of expectation about iterations. Okay. So did you tell them that there was going to be time for iteration? If not, you probably should have. You should have told them, hey, I'm not just going to make something for you and you have to eat it. Like this is a collaborative process. Okay. So that's the first thing is make sure there's an expectation for a time for feedback and iteration. Okay. Number two, I always suggest people would use milestones in working with freelance clients, especially. Never show somebody a ta-da moment. Ta-da moments are the moments that you know you messed up. A ta-da moment means you went away for a week or two. You talked to the client first. You went away for a week or two. You did a bunch of work. You came back and you went, I'm all done. Ta-da. Don't you love it? They're going, no. Why did you use that color? I don't like that choice here. But if you set up milestones and walk the client through the process, they're going to be less surprised and they're going to be less apt to kind of kick back and say, oh, I don't like that. So here's what I mean. So you do some wireframes for a website. Present those. Say, hey, I need to have a quick meeting with you, 15 minutes with you and your stakeholders or your team, decision makers. Talk about these wireframes really quickly. Hey, here, and you present the wireframes. Don't send it to them and say, get back to me in an email. Let me know what you think. No. I need to have a meeting with you so I can lead you through and present these things to you. Present them beautifully. Put them in a presentation. Walk them through the whole thing, explaining as you go. Ask for feedback then. You'll get little bits of feedback. Great. We can make those changes. If I made those changes, would you sign off on them? Yes. Great. Boom. We're moving on. Sign off on that milestone of the project. Then when you move on, you do the same thing with mood boarding, colors, like direction. You do things with low fidelity mockups. You do each of these milestone pieces. And every time they go, those look great. Yes. Sign off. That way, when you get to the final and you go, here's the work, they don't go, why is that button there in that color like that? You go, remember we talked about that in those milestone meetings? We agreed that that's the best call to action color and that's where that button should go in that wireframe milestone. Remember that? They're part of the process. They can't kick back then. If they do, that's okay. Then you just increase the scope of the project, you charge them more, and you keep working until it satisfies the client, okay? So this is a customer-facing business. So the idea that the client is always right, that's correct but incorrect at the same time. They hired you because you're a problem solver. You know what you're doing in your industry. You just have to make sure that you, as much as possible, you are seen as the expert in this exchange, right? So you didn't come in and say, I'm just the creative hand that does what you want me to do. Another way to maybe really combat this is to ask a lot of diagnostic questions up front, right? Because diagnostic like questions mean that you're the expert, not them, right? So here's what I mean. They say, hey, you know, we need a website. We know what we want. Okay, great. That's awesome that you know what you want. Let me ask you a few questions. Why do you need a website? Why do you think you want it to be like this? Why do you think that's important? And what they'll slowly start unpacking for you the majority of the time is they don't actually know what they want. They think they know what they want, but you can actually help them know what they need. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are some ways you can kind of combat that. You should never be convincing a client. You should never be hard selling them, saying you should. No, this is great. They should want to trust you. So you have to establish that trust really early on, okay? Okay, Salman says, hey, Jesse, I think every creative person has a unique style of their own. My question is, how do I find my own unique creative style, which makes me stand out from the crowd? You gotta, to find a unique style, you have to copy other people for a while, and then you can't stay in that mode of copying. You have to take the things that you love from other people, let it saturate into you and inspire you to who you want to become, and then slowly but surely start tweaking and making changes to that and figuring out what you love about those things that you copied from, right? Maybe you don't love the entire style of the thing you copied. Maybe you just love the use of color. Maybe it's really punchy, really bold, really like daring. You're like, oh, I love using daring color. All of a sudden that becomes a thing, a part of your style, right? What you do, right? Or maybe you hate doing like B2B corporate websites, like after you've done a couple and you're like, I really love like off the wall, like bold kind of experimental sites with, you know, crazy use of texture and all this stuff. Okay, great. Then maybe that's your style, okay? And so you have to try a bunch of stuff before you know what your style is. Hey, as I'm answering one more question, I'm gonna be kicking back over to a few of these, lots of DMs in Instagram where we can look at people's work. Let's jump over to a couple of them, but let's answer one more question, okay? From India, what is your daily routine while you're working as a freelancer? Currently, I'm working from home, and how can I build more productivity while I'm working? All right, well, that's a great question. What's my routine? My routine is to wake up in the morning and try to get a little bit active beforehand to get the juices flowing. And you have to separate out time in your day for maker and manager work. There's a famous blog post, I forget who it was from, years ago that talked about the difference between makers and managers. As a freelancer, you have to be both, right? You have to manage your business. You have to manage clients. You have to answer emails, send invoices, do all that stuff. But you also have to have maker time where you can create, design, do everything you're supposed to do as a freelance creative. So makers can need big blocks of creative time. I mean, I need like 3, 4, 5 hour blocks of time to be creative and get into that flow state to really create things. But as a manager, sometimes I need to send an email or, you know, put something out that's like on fire with a client over here, So you can't be in this block of time and then constantly be getting emails and trying to deal with clients. You have to make sure you set aside time for maker time and set aside time for manager time. So separate those times. That's a big one. As far as routine, you have to figure out what works for you. I know when I'm most creative and when I'm most productive. So I tend to keep those productive times. Like for me, that's morning and night. Middle of the day is tough for me. So I take calls, answer emails, do all that administrative stuff during the middle of the day. So figure out what works best for you. And then just and do that. All right, I'm gonna answer a few more of these questions, but I gotta look at 1 or 2 more pieces of work before we end this stream. This is Jason Jerez. I think he's in the chat, submitted this on Instagram. Jason Jerez, branding design, UI UX design, and web development. Oh, right, 19-year-old creative freelancer in New York City. It's got a really cool like typographic vibe. Really nice presentation of the work here. Cool. The type is huge and awesome. I love big type. I'm all about it, dude. I also love that this is like all black and white. Really, really cool, really minimal. Can I click on UI UX design? Nope, none of this stuff is clickable. That's fine. That's fine. It looks a little bit like it would be clickable, whereas these sections don't. I kind of wish you would mix this up a little bit. I really would love to see like some of these words, like maybe being like inverted like outline. So like white outline with black internal, right? So just so there's a little bit of juxtaposition of something, because right now although the big type is edgy and fun and cool, I would love to see something that's a little bit more variation in here, right? Even throwing like a small kind of like like light background texture or something in it. Might be kind of fun and cool. Let's look at Cypher Space. Okay, this is some UI UX design, a little animation as we're moving to the thing. I like this presentation of the information. It's kind of cool. It matches the rest of your site. Pretty cool. All right, and you know, I would usually complain that I like to see the image and everything up here, but in this case it's okay because I can at least see it above the fold from where I'm standing. Okay, nice, beautiful, like mock-up images. Makes me really interested in what this project is. I want to know more about it. I'm a little perturbed as to why every other image so far has this white background and this one has like this weird pink background. What is this weird ghost shadow in here? There's too much reflection on these phones. Okay, this image feels broken to me. Just maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid and I can't figure it out. But okay, awesome, good looking work. Lots of imagery so far. No explanation really here. I mean, this is tiny explanation. There's a software development company based in London, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's like, okay. It's actually the opposite of a lot of things we deal with, which is like a lot of them are like too long, don't read. This is like not enough to read, not enough to know what you did in this project. I love visuals. I think if you had to err on the side of something and it was like, do I write a blog story, a blog post, or do I put a bunch of visuals? I would lean on the visual side because we're a visual medium. But there has to be some story. So you have to define a narrative here a little bit for me. Otherwise, it just looks like an expanded Dribbble post a little bit, right? So a Dribbble shot. So we don't want that. We want a little bit more out of it, okay? Secret to an amazing art direction. These are the things you do. I mean, I think it's clean. I think that it just needs a little bit more. I think it needs a little bit more story. I think it just needs a little bit more narrative. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know like what personality you have. It's very it's cold. It's a little bit clinical, and it's really just, you know, two pieces of visually kind of driven stuff, which is not bad. It's just there could be more. So that's what I would say. I would say there could be more. Okay, so let's jump on to another one. I'm trying to. Somebody in the chat is like, it would be great if you could review it, accepting comments on portfolios. I'm trying to find. There's so many. Look at all these. So we have to look at Salman's, right? Because he was like next in line. So I'm just trying to go down the line, y'all. I'm trying to be fairsy squaresies. UI UX designer from India. Okay, let's look at. I really like the look at this one. You don't see a lot of this deep green color, you know, in UI work. So this is lovely, actually. And I really like this. This is an interesting above the fold kind of header piece. This is a focal piece here. When you first click on the work, you have kind of like the description, right? Like of what it is. Trending design style, all customizable vector graphics. This is like a freebie for iOS, okay? So it's like a template you made for people to use. Cool, love it. But I love the kind of colors. Oh, is that all we get? Okay, hold on. Maybe I clicked too early. Yes, okay, here we go. All right, so but I love this dark kind of neutral color. It's beautiful. It's funny, like if I hold my hand up over these illustrations, I would have loved to have seen these be a really light neutral color version of this. They're kind of like a contrasting color or complementing color. That's not bad, but it's drawing my eye over here too much. Just a little quick eye study thing. It's drawing my eye over here too much. I want to focus on the content. Now, this is what I mean about it's not too long, don't read, and it's not just visual. I get visuals with a little bit of description. Here's some color and typography stuff. Again, here's that neutral color. Would love to see that, or some of these neutral colors. Yeah, I would love to know more about this. It's really, I mean, it's beautiful stuff. Let's try to dig in. Here, let's zoom back up and let's dig in on some of this, okay? Let's look at the work itself. I think the UI is beautiful. Alignment's really great. Great use of color and imagery. It's just clean, you know? It's just really, really clean. I personally would have liked to have seen these spaced out just a little bit more, right? You have a lot of edge space over here. I think this space between function, maybe in Figma, kind of hosed you a little bit, so it's like trying to be perfectly spaced there. I like a little bit more fat thumbs issue for me. So, but I think it's really beautiful. I don't really have a lot of complaints here. I don't have a lot of critique or feedback. I think everything, like your call to actions stand out. They're tappable. You have good primary, secondary, tertiary kind of functionality throughout. The theme carries throughout. It's beautiful. I'm not the biggest fan of this inverted white illustration. It's just, maybe this is, again, with the eye tracking, this thing is the thing that, oh, I lost it. This is the thing that pops more than anything else, right? This is dominating your view versus this button here. I would have also loved to have seen you, like, again, you have like the login button here and like a start now button here. It's great. I'm wondering if, where's that, like maybe there needs to be a little bit more of a contrast color. I would try a version or a variation where you have like a button that pops a little bit more, and maybe that goes against the kind of calming, neutral feeling of the application. I don't know. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer there, but it's really, really beautiful. Love it. Great stuff. The graphs look beautiful. Everything is beautiful. Great job. Great work. Love it. How do I, yep, I need to appreciate that. That's appreciated. Love it, love it, love it. Let's do one more. We'll get back to a few more questions. This is Janish, Danani, Surat, India. Man, lots of talent in India today. Whoa, man. You guys are bringing the heat, India. Okay, let's click on some pieces here. This is kind of like what I was talking about before, like a variation of work. I have this in my portfolio. We all started doing lots of different stuff, and then it starts to really like consolidate into a style. Although he's still claiming a lot of different things, I think it seems like he's really focusing on a lot of UI design. Okay, so here we go. What can we say about this piece of work? I'm gonna try to. Ooh, how do we zoom in? I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit. Okay, here's what I would say about this. Let's start with the presentation. I had said earlier on, I forget whose, Jason Jerez's portfolio, like maybe a little background image or texture. This is too much. This is overwhelming for the eye, okay? So when presenting, you wanna keep everything else really low key so I focus on the work, but I do like a little bit of interest in the background. It's a tough line to walk, but I say walking that line is worth trying, okay? So, but this is probably too much. It's a little too bold. It's a little too in your face, okay? So that's the thing. When it comes to, there's bad clarity here, okay? There's not a lot of clarity here. Like, it's hard to read the name. And the same thing, it's hard to read the call to action inside of the search box, okay? So this foggy kind of glass thing is doing you no favors, I'll tell you that. The card is good. I feel like I'm being really harsh. I don't like this border radius, and I definitely don't like this shadow. Remember we were talking about subtle shadows? What's the point of this shadow right here? If it was to create contrast and distinction between the section, you've overused and abused the shadow. It's too much. You need to bring that thing down, raise the size of that navigation up a little bit, maybe consider like a different color for it, another way to get contrast. I think it would be fine with a light gradient, a little bit more vertical space on that navigation. I think it'd be fine. Again, I think you just have some contrast and some spacing issues in this work. Like this top glass thing, it's not working anymore. We can't do this anymore. It's a really bad use of space. This is dead space, right? We can lead things right up into the notch or into the upper regions of our devices now. This just isn't doing it. So again, why did we create this glass effect? It was to try to create contrast, right? But there could have been a better solution for it, right? We could have just put like a shape behind our arrow here and like some shapes around these things and made sure that this popped with like maybe a small like gradient on the image at the very top. There's lots of solutions you could have done here. I think this is the least best solution that probably you could have taken there, okay? Also, when I say spacing, I mean a lot of this stuff is really cramped. I'm really zoomed in here. This looks like 8 pixel font or something. It is tiny. It is minuscule. It's not legible. Also, this comment section, I think you should do a little research on what comment sections look like. These don't look like comments, and this does not look like a great input box, if that makes any sense. So I'd rather have a call to action that says leave a comment that pulls up a keyboard and a text area, pop it in like that. This looks kind of like old school, like 90s blog, kind of like comment section where it was like, you know, so I don't know. It's just some thoughts. Imagery is beautiful, nice choice of imagery. I just think you need a little bit more size, clarity, contrast, and maybe a little bit of proximity for some things to tie things together. Like this is too tight. These are really far away from each other. I don't know, just all around it needs a little bit of freshening. And I think it's getting there. I think it's looking really, really good. Don't be discouraged. I think it's looking amazing. I think you just need some of those finesse things. Finesse is a big deal. Okay. Okay. Let's jump back over here really quickly because Tui Chomp, I see that you're asking, but I don't see your message, bro. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to find it. I just don't. I don't see it. I'm sorry, dude. So you've messaged like a million times. I really want to. I can't find it. So let's answer a few more questions, shall we? And then we will probably close for the day. All right, a little bit of question and answer. I'm thinking about your questions. What's a good question? Oh, Shakal Khan says, hey, Jesse, I have some questions. Website text spacing, like title, subtitle, paragraph, or button space. Oh, how do you do that? I did a whole video on how to do kind of like a typographic scale. So it would be... Tui Chomp, I see you, brother. I see your messages. I'm sorry, I can't find it. It's not going to happen, bro. So slam in the chat with a million messages isn't going to help like at all. Sorry. Okay, so I apologize. I wish I could find it. I can't find it, dude. All right, so back to it. The text spacing. Okay, so I would suggest if you're just getting started, maybe try using like an 8-point grid. And creating some spacing using your 8-point grid. You're gonna make sure that all of your typography. Okay, I'm sorry, Tui Chomp, dude. I'm gonna have to silence you, bro, because you're kind of, yeah. I'm gonna put you in timeout, my man. Sorry, dude. I had to do that. I had to do that to you because you're slamming the chat. You're slamming the chat. I want to be able to see people's comments. Okay, so with that being said, where was I? That's right, typographic scale. If you're gonna do typographic scale, you just let's open up Figma. Let's open up Figma and let's see what we got going on here. Here we go. I'm opening up Figma. I got a bunch of stuff happening. Let's open up Figma and let's do a new document in Figma, shall we? Let's do a new document in Figma. Here we go. All right. Figma, you're taking a little time to load. Here we go. All right, so I'm just gonna draw an artboard out. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I'm gonna hit A for artboard. I'm gonna hit desktop here. And then I'm going to turn on my grid. Actually, I'm gonna create a grid first. So let's do it, man. I'm gonna turn on a grid layout. Boom, I'm gonna add one. And this is a 10 pixel grid. We could go in here and edit this if we want to become an 8 pixel grid. Okay, so see all of our little grid lines? There's all of our little grid lines. Then we can create a piece of typography that says something like headline, like this. Boom, shakalaka. And we can make this divisible of 8. So let's go 8. We'll go times, I don't know, 6. What's 8 times 6? It's 48. There we go. We're bad at math. I'm bad at math. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, put our text on the baseline. See that baseline? Boom. It's on one of those grids, right? So we don't want to worry about the box. This is actually what we call the hard grid. Okay, there's a difference between a soft and a hard grid. I'm going to cover all of this in my Dribbble workshop. But yeah, okay, so here we go. So the way we could actually start is come down here and start with a base text of 16. Okay, so now you have a base text of 16. Let's make this kind of hug that thing right there. Good, it's on the baseline. This is gonna be our body copy like this. We're gonna make this one a sub headline. Okay, just like that. And we are going to let's just times it by 2. This is gonna be your simple times 2 kind of deal here. So now we have body copy down here. It's Roboto regular. We're gonna go a sub headline that's up at 32. Let's move it up to bold like that. And then we're gonna do a headline. So let's get rid of this other headline we had up here. Boom, like this. Let's just do it times 2. Why not? Okay, so now we're creating typographic scale. We're putting it on our baseline. Wherever it goes, it's on our baseline. You tracking with me? Okay, so now all of these are doing what they're supposed to do. Now, when it comes to spacing, you're gonna choose what the spacing is, but we can count out how many boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 before we hit the next baseline. So if I wanted to keep that consistent, I could. Maybe this is a little too too much for the bold there? Yeah, there we go. So we have a nice scale that's going on here. If I want it a little closer, that's fine. Here's what you don't want. Okay, you don't want, for instance, a sub headline and some body copy. You don't want it to be so far away that they don't look connected. They need proximity. Okay, let's take our grid off really quick. And so you can see it. They need some sort of proximity. You also don't want your main headlines cramping your style so much. So that's when we would want to maybe revert and go back. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to spacing inside of your projects, but I will say there's some basic guidelines that say I don't want things to be so far away like this that they don't have proximity, basic design kind of principle. And that I don't want them to be so close that they can't breathe like this. Are you tracking with me? So if I'm looking at the difference between, let's bring these down here. These are great examples. If I'm looking at the difference between way too far away, no proximity, way too tight, not enough proximity, right? Or not enough spacing there, then I'm gonna have to figure out what is the proper spacing. And that just comes, I'm not saying eyeball it, but you play with it. Right? So now I can say body copy, let's span some of this out like this, boom, and let's just fill a bunch of this, woo, like that. Okay. All right, now that looks a little bit better, the space between the headline and the body copy. Of course, then we'd have to go into the body copy and say 16, maybe like ×2 again, boom, like that, to get a good line height spacing. And that is the start of kind of understanding spacing in your projects. Wow, I tried to do that super duper fast. There's a lot of things I missed. I apologize if I missed so many things, but that is kind of a basic idea. You don't want it to be so far away they don't look like they belong together. You don't want them to be so tight that they look like they're cramped and not making any sense. And you do want to have a decent amount of spacing. Now, once you've created that spacing, I can group these items together. I want to create spacing, right, for each one that is coherent, right? So that means if I choose each, let's say this is like a blog post or like an article kind of preview, then I'm creating the spacing that's the same for each one of them. Boom, like that, right? I'm creating consistent spacing for groupings of elements and items as well. That looks really good, okay? That's not the greatest like demo, but that's the basic idea of your thing, okay? All right, so following up on the typographic scale question, what are your thoughts on using 4-point gridded scale? Woo, it provides more flexibility while designing interfaces for mobile. 4 is tight. You get too nitty. Here's my thing. There is a difference I mentioned earlier between the soft grid and the hard grid, right? So the hard grid is what I just did. Everything is on the nitty gritty kind of like 8-point grid. 4 gets really, really tough. Yes, you have more fine grained control. I've never needed that level of fine grained control. I can't think of a reason why you would need it personally. I think 4 is overkill. I think you're gonna start killing your brain with the amount of like excessive like measurements you make. I don't think it needs to be that good. Now the soft grid, on the other hand, instead of using the grid in that way, what you're actually going to do is space off of the box element and space things apart so that they are consistent from each other. So you're not actually going to use the grid, you're going to use spacing elements, and you're going to create kind of your own internal grid. Developers actually prefer that one from my experience. So that's a thought. Okay, I hope I answered your question on that. Hey, I think that's it for the day. Got to get going. Love spending time with you guys. Thank you for all the portfolio submissions. Thank you to my members for being so amazing. And I hope that you guys can join me for my Dribbble workshop that's on March 26th. That's next Friday. Hope you'll join me then. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the live stream today. We'll be back, not next week, because next week got that Dribbble workshop, but I'll be back here for my own live stream the following week after that. So make sure you tune into the channel, subscribe, like, all that kind of good stuff. We will see you guys later.